Welcome back to another edition of the Prepper Recon Podcast. Our mission is to bring you great interviews with preppers from around the world so you can be better informed and better prepared for everything from a hurricane to the end of the world as we know it. I've been purchasing gold and silver from JM Bullion since before they were a show sponsor because they have the lowest price of any dealer I know of. JM Bullion now offers free shipping on all orders, and Prepper Recon listeners will get $5 off any order over $300. Just go to jmbullion.com and use coupon code PR5 at checkout. Today's guest is EJ Owens of LegallyConcealed.com. EJ, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you guys having me on here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about your website, Legally Concealed, and tell us a little bit about why you started that?
Yeah, so Legally Concealed is a Second Amendment support website, and we have some products there that show our support for the Second Amendment. But how we got started was a pretty funny story. I went over to a local gun store here in Memphis, Tennessee, and the guy had a thin blue line license plate behind the counter, and I asked him what it was, and he kind of got snotty with me. I was like, "You don't know what that is? You don't understand that?" So, again, no, I don't. Could you explain it to me? He said, "Well, that means you support law enforcement." I was like, "That is pretty cool, man. I got some brothers who are wearing the badges right now. I'd love to have, that license plate and support law enforcement." He says, "Well, are you a cop?" I said, "No, I'm not a cop." He said, "Well, you can't have one." I said, "Well, that's interesting." So I went to dinner with my wife, and I was telling her about the story because I was kind of upset about it. And I started scribbling out on a napkin the symbol, the lines with the two. And I was like, you know what? It's going to have a black background so that, it really represents the evil that's around us trying to do us harm. The two lines are going to show to keep and to bear arms. And then the two, obviously, is going to be the Second Amendment. And I said, this is going to be for anybody who supports the Second Amendment. Not just some organization here or there. This will be for anybody. And that's where we've come. We've been doing it now for about 2 years, and it's really starting to catch on.
Very cool. That's a really cool concept. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into tactical training?
Yeah, sure. So I originally started out, I did 14 years throughout the Army and the National Guard, and kind of jumped back and forth between those. And really didn't make my mind up of what I wanted to be in life. And so the big green Army machine helped me. Started me off as a medic, and so I did a little bit of medical training there, but as a medic, I can't use, I got to use both my hands. So I had to do a lot of pistol training. So while the guys were doing a lot of the rifle training, I got a lot of that, but then I started having to be proficient with a pistol. And in conventional military, you don't get a lot of time on pistol, like you do with the rifle. So, I started to become pretty proficient at the pistol. And then when we later moved moved my career over to being an infantry officer, kicking in doors and that kind of stuff, really got a lot of training on close quarters combat and the use of a rifle and a pistol up close, and its optics and lasers and that kind of stuff. And I've been over in Afghanistan as a defense contractor, and then when I came back, I just started, I'm an avid shooter, but I started shooting with some friends, and I took a couple of classes, and I was like, you know what, there's a lot of information that's not being put out. I think we can help in that area. And so for a while, I just started giving it away. I just started working with anybody for free and started putting it together, and then, wrote a book, Counterviolence, and put it out. And because of my current work, I'm not able to get on the range and do classes for civilians as much. So, just trying to make time for that. And when I can do some tactical training, I do.
Very cool. And we certainly appreciate your service to our country. Now, one of the things you mentioned earlier is the police, and it's great to have them, but a lot of times they really can't do anything to stop the crime. The best thing they can do is probably try to catch the criminal after the damage has already been done. Do you think folks need to be able to defend themselves?
Yes. Any self-respecting, red-blooded American would want to defend themselves from some evil animal trying to take something that they certainly didn't earn, nor did they deserve from you, and leave you either helpless and or dead. So I have a hard time imagining people not wanting to defend themselves. I think where the problem lies is they don't know how to defend themselves.
And one of the things we've seen is this sort of a slow motion economic collapse in our country. It's causing massive budget cuts in municipal budgets. Detroit went bankrupt last year, and we're now hearing that 911 response times in Detroit average around 58 minutes for high priority calls. Do you believe this trend will embolden criminals to be more aggressive and more violent, since they know that there's that much less of a possibility of them ever getting caught?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, criminals, we think they're dumb, but they're not. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're about their business. And so anytime that the tables can turn to tilt in their favor, they're going to take advantage of it. I live in Memphis, in a metropolitan area where there's over 600,000 citizens, and we have 2,000 cops. And of those 2,000 cops, not all of those are on the street, because you've got administration and training and logistics and so on and so forth. So, they can't be everywhere all the time. And, we kind of get lulled into the thought that police are like Andy Griffith, and you're going to be in the midst of having a problem, and they're just going to walk up and solve it for you, and it's not going to happen. So, they're not going to be there when the incident goes down. It's on you, and nobody's coming for you. So once you live through that, should you survive and live through that, then the police will come by and take some pretty notes for you and tell you where you can go pick up, your next court date from, and then when they get the bad guys, then you can go see them again. It's not going to work like people think it is. You're going to have to defend yourself, and the police aren't coming.
And what do you think the best home defense weapon is? And is that answer going to vary depending on your situation?
Yeah. Now, see, here's where we get into. I could tell you a gun, but it's not the best in every scenario. So let me give you a case in point. I was teaching a class 2 weekends ago. I have one guy who's he's a computer programmer. He works from home. He has a wife and a small baby in the house. I got another guy who lives on 1,000 acres in Texas with just him and his wife. All his kids are grown. So you can see the disparity there between the two situations. One guy lives with a small child. He stays at home all day. For me, I'm going to recommend a 20-gauge youth model shotgun. And I would probably take the plug out of it and shove it full of bird shot for the first three shots, and then try to go with some buckshot after that. And that way, if it's a situation where I'm next to my child and I have to hold my infant child and defend myself, I can do that with that gun, or my wife can actually shoot that gun while I'm holding my child. Now, and then I can look at overpenetration too. I mean, there's certainly a myriad of studies that go into overpenetration, but I'm just trying to lower the probability of the damage that overpenetration would do. And so if I take birdshot for the first couple of shots, ideally I've either hit him or, I'm tracking him pretty good. Now my guy in Texas, hey, he needs an AR, and at 1,000 yards, he probably could even use a 308 AR platform, because it's just he and his wife. So if he's indoors, he's got a 12-gauge shotgun. If he's defending the perimeter, he's got a rifle, and then he's got a pistol for last-ditch effort to defend himself. And he can use double-aught buck at 12-gauge because he knows where his wife is, and the threat's always going to be forward of him, with nothing to consider, no innocence to consider downrange as well. So, then you change too if you're living in an apartment complex. Or if you're on the second floor of 3 floors in an apartment complex and you want a weapon to defend yourself, that's a 360-degree shooting range right there. So you really need to look at your environment and how a weapon is going to be utilized, and where are those rounds going to go, and then try to make your best decision.
And then are you going to have less problems with if you decide to go with the pistol, are you going to have less problems with over penetration if you, say, select a hollow point round as opposed to a full metal jacket?
Not really. I mean, it's going to go. What happens with the hollow point is that you're looking for the yaw, so the tumbling. You're probably going to have more deflection, so that when it hits the wall, the sheetrock, depending on if you've got insulation or it hits a wire or it hits a water pipe or something running through the wall. If it just goes straight through the drywall, and what we've shown in the past, there are a lot of studies too, is that bullet doesn't necessarily keep going straight. It either rises, 3 to 4 inches, or it goes to the left 3 to 4 inches, depending on how what that mass that it actually hits does to its trajectory. But it's typically not going to fly straight. And that's where we get into, if it were to deflect downward and you're standing, I'm 6'2", I'm standing there shooting, from the middle of my chest to another grown man, that's at least 4.5 feet, almost 5 feet off the ground. But the bullet goes through the sheetrock, through the drywall, hits something, and it deflects down into the next room. And my kid happens to be sleeping on that bed, and it could kill it. So the thing is that over penetration, you don't really know where it's going to go. You just know that it is going to go.
So what do you think is the best round to avoid that? Would it be a lead buckshot? A lead bird shot?
Yeah, I think you've got the highest probability, and hence the word probability, of lowering your chances for a lethal overpenetration when you go with that bird shot. Now, someone would say, well, bird shot's not going to drop a man. I would challenge you this. Would you who are the naysayer, would you mind standing 10 paces in front of me and letting me pull the trigger with a bird shot round?
Oh, heck no.
No, you would die. I mean, I'm being facetious, but I'm just saying, some guys get caught up in, the biggest and the baddest, and that's cool. I'm an alpha male too. I get it. But in all reality, you're probably going to miss because you're under stress, duress. It's happening extremely fast. And if it takes you 2 shots to kill him, I want you to have the highest chance of not hurting anybody else with the first shot that missed or a shot that missed. So if it's me, I'm loading my shotgun with 3 rounds of number 8 or bird shot, and then we move into buck, and then I've got some slugs on a side saddle. But that's just me. But that's just me. I just pray to God you have a gun to help defend yourself. But shooting the bad guy and killing someone innocent in your house is still a really bad day, and that's not surviving in my mind.
No. So now, once we get, if for somebody they're just starting out with guns and it's their first gun and they get it home, where do they start for getting educated and getting training? And part 2 of that same question, is it okay for them to dry fire that weapon to sort of get an idea where the slat cuts off and when the trigger actually engages the firing pin, or will that damage the weapon?
All right, so part 1 of your question is once we get a gun, what do we need to do to start learning how to train with it? Or where can we go to get some training on it? All right, so day 1, I buy the gun, I bring it home. Here's an instant sense of security just by its mere presence. That it is a magical talisman, and it's going to, wave off all evil spirits around because now I'm in possession of a deadly weapon. Mind you that it still has the cosmoline or whatever that's still on the gun, and it's still in a box. So I would encourage you to look at some of your local firing ranges that train for the concealed carry permit of your state. If you live in a free American state that allows you to have a concealed carry permit, and look for an initial class. There should be like an introduction to firearms class, or getting familiar with your gun class. If you don't have someone in your family that really understands guns, and not just has been around them, but understands them. But, I would try to get help from a professional first. And here's the thing. You need to learn how the gun operates before we ever fire it. You need to understand what does the trigger do? What does the firing pin do? What does the slide do? How does the magazine work? How many bullets can it carry in a magazine? And again, we're talking day one here. So there's really a vocabulary lesson that needs to be taken. There's a functionality lesson that needs to be taken. And there's nothing wrong with that. We all did that. We all started somewhere, whether it was old Uncle Joe or Grandpa telling us or the military or law enforcement giving you a block of instructions. Somewhere we all got it. I would just want it to be competent. And then once you get a gun and you understand how it works, and you take it out to the range, you shoot a little bit, you're going to want to practice pulling that trigger. There's nothing wrong, especially in a striker fired gun, of dry firing your gun. Now here's the caveat to that. Make sure your weapon's clear. Lock the slide to the rear. Drop the magazine, lock the slide to the rear. Visually and physically inspect the chamber and the mag well, just to make sure, right? Then once you're good with that, go ahead and release the slide. Release the slide and let it go. And let's start practicing, and you can figure out the slack in there. But no, there's nothing wrong with dry firing.
Now, what are the 3 Ds of home defense?
Detect, deter, defend. And that is to detect. You hear the crash, bang, boom at night. You hear something out of the ordinary, and you get going and trying to find what it is. All right. Deter. Try to do something to get them not to continue doing what they're doing. That is, I want to either turn a light on forward of my position. I want to say, hey, you're in my house, get out. Tell me you've got a gun. Something that's going to deter them. Because most of these criminals really don't want to get into it with you. Okay? But if they're back in a corner, then you might have to defend yourself. And you need to, make these moral decisions about what line you're willing to cross in order to defend yourself. And to each of us, they're different. So, that's something where I would tell you, once you start carrying a gun, then you need to get right with yourself, get right with your family, and get right with your God, because you may meet him a lot sooner than you originally planned. And you need to go into this fight with a clear conscience and an open heart, knowing that you've lived your life as well as you wanted to live it, because you may just lose it. But to answer your question, it's detect, deter, defend.
And then if you've got that regret, or maybe you've been putting off, because you just brought up a great point, that's not a really good time to start contemplating your mortality and thinking about, man, maybe I should have went to church. Maybe I should have prayed. Maybe I should have asked God to forgive me for this thing, that thing, or the other thing. That would be a horrible time to start considering all that, because it might make you hesitate and it might get you killed. Is that correct?
Yeah. And here's the thing. Guilt weighs a ton. And, if you've never, I'm trying to put this as lightly as I can because it is a deep subject, but those who have seen imminent death before understand the finality in it. And the finality meaning that there is no turning it around. When it happens, and it's forever. And so what happens is, for me in my own experiences, I'll tell you, brother, oxygen tastes a lot sweeter every morning that I wake up. And I cherish the hugs and the times that my kids say, Dad, I love you. And I cherish the little looks that my wife gives me across the dinner table to let me know that she's thinking about me. Because when the time comes that you have to stand in the face of the door and defend it from evil, it will require everything from you. And it just may take everything from you. So live your life with meaning and purpose and influence, so that when the time comes that you must defend your life, you have lived a life worth defending.
That's a really, really great advice, and like you said, I think it's one of those things that we have to think about now and contemplate now when you don't have that danger, because when that danger is upon you, it's going to be too late to sit and think about all of that, because like you said, you could very well be ushered into the judgment seat of God, and you want to have your conscience clear before that is thrust upon you, for sure. Now, why do you call hallways Death Alley?
Because there's really no room to run left or right. Now check this out. Every shooting school that you have ever been to, right, and they're doing, say, like a pistol class, they're going to tell you to, move. You've heard people say move off the X, take some type of lateral movement left or right during the draw stroke, right? So you're getting a high-tang grip on the gun, get a firm firing grip. You're ripping it from the holster straight up the midline, turning it 90 degrees, canning at 45. Now you're pressing out with both hands, right? Well, prior to all that, or in conjunction with all that, you have moved left or right, to get off of the line of the threat, get out of the threat vector, right? Well, in a hallway, good luck. You tend to either, left or right, and now my shoulder, without even a full step, is punching the wall. So you really only have one or two choices. That is to move forward or backwards. Now you can move forward and dip off into another room. You can move backwards and dip off into another room. But the movement of forward and backwards is required first. That keeps you in the hallway longer. That keeps you in the threat vector. And if I'm getting shot at, I want to get off that X. I want to get out off the threat vector. Move left, right, some type of diagonal motion to cover. And in a hallway, I can't do that.
And do you recommend designating a safe room for the whole family to retreat to in the instance of a home invasion?
Yes, absolutely. And here's the thing about a safe room. Most people design or pick a safe room based on their most probable avenue of entry that the bad guy's going to take. But most of us have never been bad guys before. So it's hard to presume you know what they're going to do. So I would say absolutely designate a room as a safe room. And if you had time, you could scream up to, your loved ones, move to the room. But during the course of the fight, if you're not able to make it to the room because you're cut off, they're safe. You need to make provisions in each one of your rooms to have a couple extra magazines and a tourniquet and something else, a communication device that you can contact, 911. You can't always plan on making it to that one spot. What if it doesn't happen? So, for me, I've got a little bit of stash in each room. And if I have to bail off into a room, that's right, that's in this left-hand corner. I've got 3 extra Glock 17 mags, I've got a tourniquet, and I've got some type of communication device.
And is there a predominant entry used by bad guys? I mean, do they typically come in through a bedroom window, or do they like the back door, maybe where it's kind of like off the street and maybe nobody's going to see them coming in that way? Or would you happen to know that?
Well, again, I've never been a bad guy, so I don't know exactly, but I could suppose that they're going to take the path of resistance, and that's typically the darkest and the easiest ease of access. So we're looking at something like a full window door. It's easy just to throw a brick through, and you turn the lock when you walk in. A window that's at waist level, or something that's been left open. Why break something to make noise when it's already unlocked or it's already open? So here's what you need to do. You need to walk around your house and play the mental gymnastics for a moment, if you can, and try to imagine yourself as the bad guy. Walk up to your windows and see, what do you see inside your house? Do you see something worth taking? make the calculation, make the judgment kind of like what they would. And that is, they want something, they know it's in there because A, they've seen it, or B, someone who they trust has told them, hey, I've been in the house, I've seen it, it's in this room, i.e., cleaning ladies, repair guys, that kind of stuff. So, or a child caretaker. So, walk around and look through your doors. What do you see? Do you see something worth taking? Do you see that big flat screen right there? Do you see somebody left a nice watch laying around? What is there? Some jewelry? Because imagine they're going to try to pawn it off or sell it for some drugs or some sort, and they want to get rid of it easily. So it needs to have high value and easy to move.
And then you mentioned that you were trained as a medic in the Army, and then you also said that you keep a tourniquet in each room. I was at the Fort Lauderdale Gun Show last weekend, and we were promoting the podcast, and I write some books, so I was selling the books. And then I also tried to put together a nice Molly first aid kit with Quick Clod and Israeli battle dressing and Asherman chest seal and a few other little odds and ends, a suture kit and that kind of thing. And I tried to price it to where, because I bought so many things in bulk, that it would actually be cheaper for people to buy than actually putting everything together themselves. But nobody bought one. And I thought it was so curious that all these people were at this gun show spending thousands of dollars on guns and ammo, but they all have this perception that they're bulletproof.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, man. Nobody wants to consider the fact when you're holding that new Rackmaster 5000 in your hand that you could, yes, indeed, smoke that fool standing in front of you. But as you're shooting him, he cracks off a round and kills your little 7-year-old girl, your 7-year-old little daughter standing beside you. Yeah, you survived, and great job. You did what you were trained to do. But he got a round off, and your 7-year-old little girl is falling to the ground with a sucking chest wound. And because it's a shooting, the police are going to wait till they can get everybody in uniform to come running over there. EMS is going to stage, and it's going to be 15 to 20 minutes before the police, quote unquote, secure the scene. And all the while, you're going to stand there and watch your daughter die because you didn't do anything. You had a trauma-inducing device grate on you. But do you have a trauma-reducing device? Do you know how to stop some bleeding? Do you know how to keep someone breathing? We get caught up in the over-dramatization of that life or death scenario hitting just me as an individual. But there's a reason we talk about collateral damage, because it could just well happen. I think if you're going to spend as much time shooting on the range, you need to learn how to fix those wounds that bullet that you're shooting is going to induce. And you need to start off with taking a little first aid course and CPR course at your local, Red Cross or something. And just learn how to put the white stuff on the red stuff. That's the white bandage on the red blood. Learn how to do that first. And learn how to do CPR. But then you need to start looking into some true emergency medical courses for some civilians. And there are several, reputable ones. You just look inside the gun community, start asking people, start telling you about them. But you need to learn some of that stuff, and you need to carry a daggum tourniquet, because let's just say you get shot in the arm and you're in the back of the Walmart, everybody's cleared out and the police are still trying to clear it and they haven't got you yet. You're sitting there bleeding. What could you do, man? Could you rip your shirt, start tying a tourniquet off? Could you take your belt off and make a tourniquet? Could you reach inside your pocket and grab a little tourniquet that you had? Can you improvise? But you need to know how to do something before you can start improvising for it. It's usually a sideline conversation, especially, in the gun shooting community, and that is medical. We don't think it's going to happen to us. And it may not, but it may happen to your little girl.
Now, let's say the worst happens. Our home's invaded, and we have to use lethal force. Now, what do we do next? Do we bury the guy in the backyard or call the police or what?
Oh, man, I've seen enough crime scene CSI to know they're going to find out who did it. Here's the deal. You when you pull that trigger, your life is forever changed. And not only did you shoot some guy to defend yourself, but, should you have loved ones at the house, they're going to be screaming their head off. They've never seen anything that traumatic before. You've probably never seen anything traumatic before. You may find yourself throwing up on yourself. All right, so now not only did we have to do the event, but now we've got to look at this dead guy bleeding all over, this rug my grandmother gave me for a wedding gift. And now we've got to make that ominous call to 911. And they're recording the whole time. And then the police are going to get there. My suggestion to you is not have the gun in your hand. Because the last thing they knew was there was a guy who was shooting, and now there's a dead guy at my house. And they don't know. They don't know. See, here's the thing. Police, when they roll up and they see, dead guy laying on the floor, they see me with my gun, and they see my wife huddled up over there in the corner with my children. They don't know whether I had some relationship with this dude or not. They don't know if we're old business partners. They don't know if he was messing around with my wife and I found out about it and I blasted him right here out of rage.
They don't even know you're the homeowner.
Yeah, who knows? They don't know. So they've got to figure it all out. So here's the deal, man. You can tell them your name and this is where you live, yes, and that's my wife. Tell me what happened. Officer, I would love to cooperate in any way possible when my lawyer gets here. I respectfully request to talk to my lawyer first. And here's the thing. Here's it's really, really hard, but in my Modern Warrior shooting class, where it's 3 days, 30 hours long, I have proven this time and time again. People said they won't do it, and they do it. You shoot somebody, because we put them in some really realistic scenarios. You shoot somebody, and all of a sudden, here come the cops in full uniform, lights and sirens. They draw down on you. They make you face down on the floor, hands behind your back. They put handcuffs on you, and they take you out to an area where they question you. And people spill their guts. Because what happens is we have this inside need, this inner need to convey our innocence. As if to say, the officer's going to go, well, hey, brother, you had to do your job, man. Hey, okay, you guys want to go ahead and get a Coke or something? We're going to be here for a little while. Y'all go ahead and take a walk outside. We got it in here. No, man, no, you're going to go downtown for questioning, and, you're going to get talked to. Because until they figure it all out, they don't know. But here's the thing, man. Everything you say can and what? Will be used against you. So let's repeat that one more time. Anything you say can and what? Will be used against you. Shut your mouth, ask for your lawyer, fight the urge to plead, to tell them how innocent you are. It's hard, man. It's so easy for me to say, but it's hard.
And you don't tell them anything. You don't even give them like the basic facts of, this guy came, we don't know who this guy is. He broke in the window, and we told him to leave. He wouldn't leave, and I shot him.
And you're going to say what you're going to say, and I can't predict what you're going to say. Mm-hmm. I would tell you that less is more, and start asking for your lawyer. Invoke your lawyer immediately and get that going. Now, technically, and again, I'm not a cop, but, I am an American citizen. I know that once I invoke my right to a lawyer, they shouldn't question me anymore. Now, their cops do what they want to do, but nonetheless, I should be allowed to speak to my lawyer before continuing to answer any questions. But I would just telling you to say what you feel comfortable saying while remembering that it will be used against you.
Yeah, because we want to prove that we're innocent, but that's not the arena for that, because that's not the courtroom and they're not the judge.
That's right. They're only note takers.
They work for the state. We have to keep in mind that they work for the state, and the state is the one that's going to decide whether or not they're going to bring any charges against you for the shooting.
You got it. And the wheels of justice turn slow. That's why I tell you need to get right with yourself, get right with your family, and get right with God, because sitting in an interrogation room and or sitting in a jail cell is a very lonely place, and you need to be clear with who you are and what you've done and that the potential consequences that could result of it.
And so it'd be a good idea to have your lawyer's number. You should probably have his card in your wallet, and maybe
you need to have it in your wife's wallet. You need to put it in your wife's phone, or your girlfriend, your boyfriend, or whatever. You need to put it in their phone as well as yours, because more than likely that's the person you're calling. Honey, it just got bad. Call the lawyer. Call whoever, call this person and call that person. I'm in jail.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, if I get one phone call, I'm calling Mama. I'm calling my wife. So she needs to have the lawyer's phone number. She needs to have the, bank accounts, the bank's phone number to come bail me out. She needs to have whatever she needs, at her disposal. So here's the thing, randomly walk up to your wife or your loved one or whoever it is and say, hey, give me my lawyer's number again. What was his number? And see if they've got it. It's going to catch them by surprise as you are having to need it to begin with. So you need to make sure it's there.
That's right. Now, for folks who perhaps can't get off work or can't afford to travel for a tactical training course, would your DVDs be good teaching tools for them?
Yeah, so here's the thing. Shooting is broken into 4 categories: knowledge, skill, ability, and tactics. So I'll say that again: knowledge, skill, ability, and tactics. What my DVDs and online courses give you is knowledge. And it begins to set you on the path to develop skill. In that knowledge, it will also give you knowledge for both skill, ability, and tactics as well. So you're going to understand cognitively where you need to go and what you need to be doing. And so it's a great starting point, but it does not take the place of actually doing it. But I do give you some drills and stuff that you can do inside your house and that you can start practicing for should you not be able to go out to a range.
And then can you tell us what your 4 DVDs are and which each one of those focuses on?
Yeah, so I have a DVD called Tactical Home Defense. It is a 6-disc, 7-hour presentation on soup to nuts home defense. Outside perimeter of your house, inside, how to move with children, how to take stairwells, hallways, bedrooms, safe rooms, weapons to choose, and then we have some outside shooting drills, outside on the range shooting drills that you can practice at your range. But it really sets down the mindset for defending your home. And then I have an online presentation called Everyday Carry. So if you're thinking about or thinking about carrying on an everyday basis with a concealed carry permit, or maybe your state doesn't need you to have one, then here are the things that I think is important in understanding how to carry every day, whether it's holster selection, belt selection, what type of gun, how do you carry extra magazines, what's a backup gun and how do we use it, what does my clothing need to look like, how do I carry? And so I kind of just go, I pull all my stuff out and I say, here's what works for me. And then here's some alternatives for you should this not work. And I just talk to you really basic, plain and simple about carrying every day. And then I've got a book out called Counterviolence, Your Guide to Surviving a Deadly Encounter. And it's things that you need to know about who you're going to be fighting against. We have this presupposed imaginary bad guy out there, and he's got these qualifications and skills and abilities. But in essence, he's a lot more evil than what you give him credit for. Understanding that, and then all the way up to what you're going to go through emotionally should you have to take a life in defense of your own.
And what types of things would a person learn from your YouTube channel?
There's some videos that we've dropped on YouTube from tactical home defense and some everyday carry stuff, just so guys can get a flavor of what we're doing, the level that we're trying to instruct at. So it's pretty much just a general overview. And I don't contribute too much to YouTube, just because I don't have a lot of time because I'm doing a lot of stuff with the military. But I try to put some stuff that we're doing on there just to kind of keep folks abreast of where we are, new products that are coming out.
Very cool. And we're going to have links to Legally Concealed in today's show notes. But now for the folks listening to us on YouTube, Stitcher, iTunes, can you tell them where they can find your website and your YouTube channel?
Yeah, sure. So our website is legallyconcealed.org. It's O-R-G, legallyconcealed.org. If you hit .com, it should take you there to org as well, but legallyconcealed.org. Check us out on Facebook at Legally Concealed. You can check out my our professional Facebook page. It's EJ Owens of Legally Concealed on Facebook. I put a lot of stuff out there as well. And then YouTube, let's see. Man, I wish I knew how we get on YouTube, but I would search on YouTube, EJ Owens and or Legally Concealed, and you should see some of our videos there.
Very cool. And we can get the book and the DVDs, we can get those off from legallyconcealed.org?
Yes, absolutely. And as well as a bunch of other stuff. You can get the decals, the hats, the shirts,
yes,
mouse pads, whatever.
Your personal Second Amendment design that you made. That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, EJ, thanks again for coming on the show. It's really been a pleasure having you on, and thanks again for your service to our country.
Thank you, Mark. It's been an honor, brother. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. You guys stay alert and practice often out there. The war is not over.
Hey, Preppers and Patriots. American Meltdown, the long-awaited sequel to American Exit Strategy, is now available in Kindle and paperback. In American Meltdown, Book 2 of the Economic Collapse Chronicles, the new president, Anthony Howe, signs an executive order banning all semi-automatic weapons. Matt, Adam, and Wesley Baer begin training with their local militia for the battle that is coming. Within weeks of the inauguration, the $700 trillion derivatives bubble pops when rates on U.S. debt skyrocket. The derivatives crisis is the final nail in the coffin of the banking system and the death of the fiat currency system in America. With the dollar gone, commerce comes to a screeching halt. While times prove to be tough for all, survival favors the prepared. Get your Kindle or paperback copy of American Meltdown, Book 2 of the Economic Collapse Chronicles on Amazon